Hello, welcome back to my channel. We'll try this again because the recording I did last night had no audio. Yay. Since we're on a long sprint over at Brooklyn's reading sprints, I'm going to make a video. So this is the redo of the weekly wrap-up for the first week of February, which ended yesterday. And I finished 7 books so far as of yesterday for Get a Clue Readathon. Yes, they all actually counted for stuff on Get a Clue. So I will show you 6 of them. And then the 7th I don't have in print. I was reading the Project Gutenberg text and listening to the LibriVox audio for Martin Chuzzlewit, and that was a reread. But I read it the first time through for a readathon fairly quickly. And unlike a lot of the other Dickens books, it was one that I'd not known the story prior to reading the book. So before I dive into the last of the long Dickens that I have to read, I wanted to make sure that the ones I've already read, that I at least kind of remember what they're about if I wanted to recommend them or discuss them with people. So I'll start Barnaby Rudge probably next month, because I'm betting there's politics in it, and I'm on Team Monarch next month. So, yeah. And with any luck then, if I can work in Edwin Drood sometime in the next couple months, I will be done with all of Charles Dickens' novels. That's fun. Anyway, so aside from Martin Chuzzlewit, which is the long novel that's partially set in the United States, which is kind of cool, I also finished a whole bunch of other novels. No nonfiction finished for the purposes of this video. I did DNF the last portion of The Untold Story of the Talking Book, and I did not count it because I don't remember where I was at the beginning of the month, so it wasn't worth it. I took it back to the bookstore, put it back on the shelf. Maybe someone will buy it. It was kind of tedious. But, yeah, maybe somebody that doesn't know as much about audiobooks going into it will find it interesting. I already could guess most of that stuff. I think that blind servicemen were part of why there was funding for audiobooks. I wonder. Anyway, so not a terrible book if you like more pedantic history writing, then you're gonna probably like it. I like the kind of history writing where it reads as storytelling, and that one didn't. So, The Untold Story of the Talking Book, I do not remember offhand the author name, but as far as I remember, there was only one book with that title. So, if you are interested, you could probably find it pretty easily. But yeah, the first book I finished for February was In the Company of Cheerful Ladies, which has a cozy word in the title, cheerful. So this is one of the books in the #1 Ladies Detective Agency series. It is not yellow on the front cover. It's all yellow on the back cover, but we're counting the front cover, so very sad. Didn't actually get the yellow, extra points on this one. But sometimes when you're reading a series, you just have to go with what you got. And there will be other books from this series this month. Most of them are yellow. This one just happens to be orange. Although it does have the yellow on the back, and the end papers are even half yellow and half orange. Yeah, just not where I need it. It was fun. I liked this book better than the other book from this series that I finished this last week. The other one I finished was Tea Time for the Traditionally Built, which is nicely half yellow on the cover. That was nice. I thought this one wasn't going to be able to work for the color points, but I had forgotten that this whole sandy bit, that is yellow, and it is way over half of the book when you also have the border and everything. So, yay. This one was annoying, though. So if you've read the series or any part of it, we have two main female characters, Precious, and I'm not going to try and remember her last name offhand because I don't like butchering people's names. And they're all from Botswana, and some of the names don't look the way they sound to me when I look at them. So we'll just call her Precious. That's her first name. She is the owner and the detective for the number one ladies detective agency. And she's hired Grace, whose last name I also am not going to try and remember offhand by looking at it in the back of the book because I don't want to butcher the name. Grace graduated from Secretary College with the highest score ever recorded, 97%, which she goes around talking about all the time. Like, that is her claim to fame, is that she got 97%. So she is very insecure, and she's engaged to be married in these books, both of these books at this point. I think she gets engaged in the Company of Cheerful Ladies, but somewhere in the course of these books, she's gotten herself engaged to a dude that owns a furniture company that sells furniture. So he's a great prospect. He has his own business and he owns lots of cows, which is part of how wealth is measured in this community. So that's great. Grace is so insecure and so easily made jealous that she gets really annoying really quickly. And I don't like the books that focus more on her story because I'd rather not have so many pages that I have to spend with her. So this was not my favorite. Tea Time for the Traditionally Built is really all about Grace and her concerns that her fiancé might get stolen away by this other woman. And rather than be upfront about what's going on, she's pussyfooting around like if she just grumbles about it and worries about it, the problem will go away. Anyway, and then the other annoying thing in this book is Precious and her van. She's usually a very practical person and very rational and very reasonable. She has this little white van that her husband, who's a mechanic, fixes a lot. It is wearing out. Precious will not accept that this van is wearing out, that it's costing her husband more time and effort and parts than it is worth, and that there are other vans that she could drive. Her husband even gives her a new van that she can drive. And she still wants her little white van that's, everything is wrong with it and it needs all its parts completely overhauled. If it was just a cute little aside that popped up every once in a while, it would be different, but it makes such a big element in this story. So I wonder how the series is going to end up, because this is halfway through the series. We're in, books, I think I did 9 through 11 in the last 2 weeks or so. And the ones that have just come out are in the 20s, like 22, 23, 24, somewhere in there. So somehow the series does manage to get all the way into the 20s. And I really wonder what they're going to be like, because I can't imagine reading this for 10 more books. So yeah, I am curious. I have a lot of the rest of them. I will probably read a lot of them this month. And we'll see. I do really like Alexander McCall Smith in general. This is possibly my least favorite of his series. But it may just be I haven't focused on it long enough to really get used to the characters and find things I like about them. So my sister really loves them, which is why she sends me all of them when she finishes them, which is why I have most of them. Anyway, I started this series. This is not book 1. I think this is actually book 2. So I'm not that far off from the beginning, but this one is yellow. The other one was not. This is Gone with the Wool by Betty Hechtman. And the amateur sleuth in this one, she does stitching retreats. So knit and crochet, and she's doing a retreat event. This was for a prompt that has an event going on in it. And during this, of course, there's a body. Possible suspicious death that definitely turns out to be. And she's been tied up in this murder because she's involved in the event and the death is kind of involved with the event. And and it does involve one pattern that is consequential because you can see on the cover all those butterflies. So there's a festival going on that the Stitching Retreat is a part of. That's about monarch butterflies. They're in a place where monarch butterflies come through during migration. And there's a pageant sort of thing to crown the queen of the butterflies. So there's actually a crochet pattern in the back of this one for making a crocheted monarch. And I really might have to try it because when I did my random number generator to find out what team I'm on next month for Realmathon, I'm in Team Monarch. So that one I might have to do before I pass this book on. Sometime this month. I have worked out with my sister that the pattern is that I keep my books on hand to the end of the month, every month, so that I can do the end of the month video before I hand them off to her. So I have the rest of the month to make a monarch. So that one was pretty good. Obviously diving in on book 2, I missed a few things. I don't think I was lost, but I'm not sure if I would have liked it more or less if I'd read them exactly in order. I do have more of these because this was part of a white elephant gift from our Stitching Club's Christmas party. So there are more in the box that this one came in. And then there were 3 other boxes of stitching related murder mysteries that were also white elephant gifts. And most of the people that got them, they'll read them, but then they really don't want to keep them. So I've been told that I will get most of them. So there will be more. Then another book I finished was Mischief and Maggotti. Joan Hess, I know, has written quite a few books. This is the first one I've read by her. Maggotti is a small town in Arkansas, according to these books. I don't know if it exists. It probably doesn't. I was okay with this book. It was 3.5, 3.75 stars. But comparing these two series, I would definitely read more of the Yarn Retreat series before I would read more of the Maggotti books. I I'll probably read more. I have more Joan Hess. I don't know if all of them are this series. I think most of them are not. So I wasn't so turned off by the author as just I did not click with this book. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't really all that great either. And I think part of it was that this plot centers around marijuana as this terrible, scary thing that gets, involved in the solution of the crime. And I am in a state where marijuana has been locally semi-legal for a while. And medical marijuana is just a thing. And I've never even thought of myself as doing substances, but I could see certain products in that line that I would consider. I have a chronic sore throat, and I think, actually, a THC-laced lozenge for someone with a chronic sore throat, that sounds worth trying. So I'm in one of those states where a plot where the big, bad, scary drug is marijuana doesn't hit the way it was probably meant to. Unlike the Louise Penny books, where the big, scary drug that's being trafficked is fentanyl, which we all know is really bad, really deadly, and still a major issue that our current president seems to think that we should be attacking Mexico and China with trade wars over. So, in any case, this one was not a big, scary drug and did not have the same impact. So, yeah, if you're in a place where you've never considered marijuana legal or approachable or anything, if you've never smelled it, you don't know what it smells like the world before legalized marijuana in our state, sort of, this book might actually be more appealing, just because the argument of this drug being the reason for all this stuff happening might hold more water. Yeah. So, I don't not recommend it. But my least favorite book so far this month. I know we're talking on the 8th, so this month isn't very long yet, but still. This is another one I read in the last week. It's not yellow. It's very sad, but it is a murder mystery, which is nice. And this one is centered around whiskey distilleries. And another one with a pageant, this time for kind of a queen of the distilleries sort of thing. Anytime you have a murder mystery involving vats of alcohol, there's going to be a body in at least one vat of alcohol. It does not disappoint. There are other bodies. It is a multiple body murder mystery. So that's kind of fun. It is set as a golden age mystery, so after World War I, before World War II. Which I always find those kind of fun because I know something they don't. Because they all are acting as if the Great War that has ended is the war to end all wars. Like, no, actually, wait a couple years. You'll see. So, I don't know. It's just a silly history nerd thing. But I like this one. I've never read any other Frances Brody that I remember. So 3 new authors for me in 1 week. That was pretty good. And this one was probably a 4.25 star, so pretty good. And then the last one I finished, my favorite so far in February, Radiance of Tomorrow by Ishmael Bea. This one is a BIPOC author, yellow book. So that was nice. The author is from Sierra Leone, and the book is set in Sierra Leone, in a small village that is recovering from civil war that lasted 10 years, that decimated the village, and once people start trickling back, you know, they rebuild, and then stuff keeps happening. Stuff in the form of the government selling out its people and its land to a mining interest that's probably foreign funded, for that matter. Probably Chinese is what I'm guessing. They don't really go into the funding structure. So there's hints that maybe it's a Chinese company, but yeah, it's not really very clear. In any case, foreign investors. So it's frustrating thinking about things like this because, the resources are not going to stay in the country. Whoever is benefiting from this arrangement, it may benefit some of the people at the very elite top of the Sierra Leone power structure, but even they are going to get just a temporary benefit from this. Because once the resources are extracted, the foreign investments go elsewhere. Meanwhile, the country is wrecked. In this case, the water was originally a clear rivers, sustain farming and whatever else, and because of the contamination from the mining, the water is no longer drinkable and can no longer be used to farm with. It kills the plants. And the people are sick and being run off their land, and just, perfect example of what not to do if you want to have a healthy populace going forward. So one of those books that makes you think and makes you kind of reevaluate how important certain goods are that, are traded on the international market, and, how much is all of this damage worth? Anyway, it'll make you think. I'll put it that way. And definitely well written. Highly recommend. 5-star. And I think I'm going to try and keep track of which ones are my favorites each week, so that at the end of the month I can show them and not have to try and figure out which is my favorite book for the month. We'll see. Anyway, for the first week of February, this was my favorite book. And it might be one of my favorite books so far this year, because I don't remember any books from January that were really as impactful as this one. So, it's risky to lay on too many accolades on a book this early in the year. Last year in January, one of my first books was Woman at 1,000 Degrees by Helgamer Helgason, I think. And it was a really good book. I'm not sure if it stayed in my top 10 by the end of the year. Partly there were 470 some books in my reading last year, so it's kind of harder for a book to be in the top 10. So this one's definitely in the top. I'm just not sure if it'll be in the top 10. But definitely recommend. I am now reading a book that has no dust jacket, Life of the Party by Bennett Cerf. It's okay, maybe a 3-star. It's just a bunch of anecdotes and silly, jokey things. Some of them not just off color, but, probably offensive. This is one that's going to get donated when I'm done with it. I don't think my sister's going to want to even read it. But it's yellow, and it gets it off my shelf, so that's good. And it does count for the prompt I spun for in Get a Clue. So I'm doing that. I am on Team Colonel Mustard, so all the yellow books are bonus points for me, for my team. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I covered in my last video that I wanted to cover this time. I've been working on crochet. I was going to show off how to do foundation single crochet, but since my last video recording, I've gotten more of it done and it's harder to see. So, yeah, I'm doing a scarf, and then the other thing that I'm working on that I will try and show off as I make progress is this one. I think this is the study of color, but it might be the Inspired by Joy. Either way, it's a crochet crowd, crochet along blanket. So I just need to figure out which pattern it is to pull it up for the next row. And I'm trying to finish up some of these that I've started and they've languished long enough that I forgot which pattern it was. So I'll show this one again when I get further along in it. We're just reading and waiting for the next prompt. So if you are on Team Colonel Mustard, let me know what you're reading and what you think of it, because obviously we're all looking for good yellow books. If you're on the other teams, good luck. I hope everyone is having a great reading month so far. And if you are going to be on Team Monarch with me next month, let me know. That was the random number picker picking my team for me, but I was happy with what it picked. So I am looking forward to being on Team Monarch next month. Anyway, I will sign off there and let you guys get back to your reading as I get back to mine. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye, guys!